I welcome you all with love. One of the questions that comes up for people on the spiritual path is, do I really have to do all this work? Do I really have to do all this discipline? Do I have to perfect myself morally and ethically? Or can't I just get it? I mean, can't I just take a drug and have an insight? And it's a very important question. And why do the yogis insist that we develop what we call the four virtues before people can get into the higher wisdom? And one of the people that helps us get clear on this is a person called Charles Manson, who actually was studying Advaita Vedanta, which is nothing is real, when he was in high school. But he didn't have the discipline, he didn't have the understanding. We're going to go through that in a moment. So he said, what difference does it make? It's all an illusion. If somebody dies, there's no death. And he couldn't and didn't have the ability to put it in a framework of liberation. So he had one piece which he misunderstood, and in a sense, the dark forces, the evil forces of the world, took him over, and he found other people who didn't have much understanding but could kind of relate that this was something spiritual, but I don't really know. And they acted it out. They caused a great trauma. This is, I think, in 1969. And it was a trauma to the nation. How can people act so crazy? Even though they didn't see it as crazy, they were disconnected from everyday reality by misunderstanding spiritual reality. So what is it we have to do to help? Well, the yogis already had it worked out, and truly so in the Torah tradition too, is that you have to develop an internal alignment with the divine will. You have to develop your character. You have to be grounded before you do anything mystical, because this is an example of how a mystical understanding, Charles Manson, gets completely distorted and ultimately destructive. That's the key. So what are the four virtues? One is viveka, the ability to tell the difference between the absolute reality and the temporal reality. So if you're like Charles Manson, you have a little inkling of absolute reality, but you completely distort it and can't integrate temporal reality with absolute and say everything's Maya, therefore I can do whatever I want. We have a disaster. That's why people teach the four virtues before the students are ready for the higher understanding. Okay, so we have viveka, and then we also have what we call equal vision, vairagya, seeing God in all people equally. Not Maya, but God, the spark of God in all people equally. Okay, we all have different roles, that's okay, but the spark of God's in all people equally. And then the urge for the divine. Part of the path is this urge to know God. And then we have Shakti, Samadhi, Sampati. What does that mean? Well, those are really the six aspects of the mind. So Sama, we have control and focus of the mind. Dhamma, control and focus of the senses. Tiksha, which is the ability to balance the opposites, hot and cold and so forth. Mumuksha, which is faith in yourself that you know God. And then ultimately, samadhana, one-pointedness on the truth. And that is what prepares us to know what's beyond. That's what prepares us to deal with and integrate the Advaita Vedanta, which is nothing's real. But as I teach it, nothing's real, and we all are the shining light of the divine. Key principle. Without that background, we can't get it. Okay? And Om Atakyo Native American teaching, to all my relations, to the rock people and the plant people and the animals, flying ones, swimming ones, and the humans. That's a teaching. But we're seeing we're related to all of that. And then we have a concept that is really important in the bigger picture is the idea that we were called koakma, that the mystery of the something, that everything has a spark of God on it. And once we kind of start looking at that in that way, and Yehudi meaning raising the sparks of God, that gives us a totally different perspective on how to live our lives. And it isn't, nothing matters and I can just destroy and it's not real, which is what happened to Charles Manson. And he and all the very inexperienced people around him acted out with the killing Sharon Tate and her friends and so forth. It's like, how does that happen? It's because we don't respect the spiritual process. And the spiritual process takes us back into ethics and morality, not into judgment, not into polarity, not into the arrogance of polarity just because you think you are right, but it's not necessarily aligned with the more overt ethics and morality of thousands of years of teaching. So that's why the yogis teach, that's why the Kabbalists teach, which is we have to have the ethics and morality to be able to hold the higher spiritual teachings. So may everyone be blessed with this, that we stay in humility, we stay in our oneness, and we honor the importance of the perennial ethics and morality, the 10 speakings, the Buddhist Eightfold Path, the Yama Niyamas. They're in all the great spiritual traditions. And so may everybody be blessed that we can really hold that understanding in our lives as we evolve spiritually. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Atakyo Asa.